You hear the stories, the cold spots, the fleeting shadow, the bump in the night. But what if those aren't just spooky tales? What if they're pieces of a larger puzzle? Pieces connected by human experience, emotion, and memory. I'm Tiffany, a paranormal investigator and psychic medium. Here on Beyond Logic with Tiffany, we're stepping past the fear. We're not just hunting ghosts, we're seeking to humanize the paranormal, connect with the spirits, find compelling evidence, and finally connect the dots that link our world and the next. This is Beyond Logic with Tiffany. Hi everybody, I am here with Ryan from Evidently Paranormal, and we're going to be kind of diving into his paranormal experiences and things like that. So if you want to start by introducing yourself a little bit, maybe give us a little background and what got you started in the paranormal.
Yeah, sure. So, again, Ryan, Evidently Paranormal. My background actually came from my older sister. We grew up watching horror movies and things like that. So initially when I got into it, it wasn't very real to me. It was just kind of something, like kind of like a jump scare thing, like kids going to a haunted house. Um, Eventually, when we became old enough to drive and everything, we began exploring the city of Chicago. And we started actually having real experiences, just doing urban exploration. So that kind of kicked it off. And first place was a children's mental asylum. And I'll never forget, I think it was one of the first recordings we had made there. I just started recording, not thinking anything of it, and we were at this playground, and my sister asked, "Is there anything we can do for you guys?" And you don't hear anything, obviously. And then she rolls the tape back, and she hears a little girl say, "Take care of Caroline," and I'm just like, "What?" And I know at 16, you're just like, it's a whole new world. So at that point, it was on. I was hooked and we began doing that around Chicago and the northern suburbs here, just about every weekend, sometimes during the week too. So
Oh, that's awesome. That is really cool.
yeah.
So I got to ask, what's your favorite horror movie?
Oh boy, favorite horror movie. I like some of like the lesser known titles. There's a movie called Baskin that's really good. It's in another language, but it's a really good horror movie. And then like going with something a little more known, I would say Hereditary, classic. I could watch that one over and over. So, yeah, what about you?
Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's a good one. Yeah, I like all of those actually. Some people say they fell off after the first two, but I like them all.
Yeah, they're definitely a fan favorite of mine, but that's because I like dreams and all that stuff. So,
Really?
oh yeah.
Do you like analyze your dreams? Like, how are you into dreams? Just out of curiosity.
Sometimes I analyze them. I've had a lot of dreams come true, and I can't really explain how or why that happens.
Um,
Um,
so there
but
may be like premonitions, right?
yes, I try to kind of stay away from that because it just seems so weird to me. But my dreams aren't always exactly as they are either. Like sometimes there was more like symbolism in my dreams, so I
Sure.
kind of have to put them together. But there's been a few times where I've had a dream, like I had a dream that I was driving through a forest fire, and it was just really odd.
Mm,
And I'd forgotten about it until I was driving home with my daughter the one day, and there was like ashes falling from the sky because there was a field on fire right by the road. And I was like, "Holy crap! This just looks like just like my dream." But so
right.
silly
Oh
stuff
my
like
God.
that.
Yeah, dreams are just so weird. While we're on that topic, I have a cool dream thing. So I used to, when I was sleeping, I would have the weirdest dreams. I don't dream as much anymore as I used to. But every now and then I would say probably like once a month at the end of my dreams, I would hear my mom yelling my name like Ryan, like really loud. And it would be like she was actually saying it in real life. And I would wake up thinking my mom was going to be there. And of course she wouldn't be there or whatever, right? So maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, I was talking to my mom and I was telling her, what I used to hear. I used to hear your name, you calling my name in my sleep. And she said, no way. She's like, I've heard you calling my name in my sleep. So my family, we've all just had the strangest experiences. Some spirit related and some, I don't know, just very, very bizarre happenings. So
That's really neat. You guys must be like super close or something to have that connection then.
yeah, we used to be very close. They live in Arizona now. We're still close. I don't see them as much anymore, but and they kind of got me and my sister into the paranormal as well because they had a experience where they both woke up in their bed. I'm from Saginaw, Michigan. This is before I was born, and they heard loud footsteps coming up the stairs, and they both look at each other and they're like, "Is someone in the house?" And whatever. And then my dad looks in the door, and there's a little girl in the doorway, and it was loud footsteps, so they had thought it was going to be like an adult like coming into their room. So my sister, I think, was 2 at the time, and my dad went to get up. He thought it was my sister. As soon as he gets up, the little girl just disappears, and it hit them so much. My dad goes looking for my sister just to see if he can explain it, and she's sound asleep in her crib or whatever. And it affected them so deeply, they called the police. They thought someone was in their house, and the police come, probably thinking my parents are bananas, but they showed up, and there was no footsteps in the snow. There was no entry to the house. So,
Oh, wow.
hey, go away. Sorry.
Oh,
So, so I have lots of dogs here. So,
oh,
so
you're fine.
yeah, they had, hearing these stories from them and my grandparents, that was another big factor in me getting into the paranormal. Because, even though you take things with a grain of salt and you might not necessarily be a believer at that point, I know my parents would never lie to me. So hearing a story like that was pretty wild. I still tell people, even outside of the paranormal community. So yeah,
That is crazy. That's
yes.
awesome, though. I mean, in a roundabout way, that is what sparked like their interest too, and it's just kind of passed along to you guys. That's really neat.
Yeah, and it was like I had told you about that investigation in Chicago, but before we did that, my dad would find these paranormal conventions and be like, "Hey, you want to go?" And I was like 14, 15, so it was more like just an interest. But I would go, and it's just very strange how things worked out where I became so heavily invested in this and decided to to pursue it. Yeah, life's weird like that. You get led down different paths, and but yeah, I'm glad I did. It's been great. I really enjoy it. I don't really know what I'm doing as far as do I have a goal, but I enjoy doing it. So
I think that's the most important part. If you enjoy it, why stop, you know?
I do, and this gets talked about a lot, about goals or whatever, like why are you doing this? What are you contributing? I don't know. It's very interesting to me, and I really enjoy. I especially like direct communication when I can speak to them and they speak back. That's my jam. More than like photographing or videos. I like audio a lot. So,
That's fair. So, what is your favorite tool then, a voice recorder?
spirit box and voice recorder. Yeah, I
Okay.
the spirit box for the reason that it's live and I know it's happening right then. So if I want to pivot and gather other evidence, hey, I can, do it right on the spot. I can video or take pictures, or I can put other gear out and document that. Um, but yeah, when they're speaking to you, like, and if you also feel something like a, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like kind of like electricity, like vibrating. You can almost feel them like go through you, and it's wild. It's almost makes your adrenaline spike. So yeah, I love it. So
I think you described it pretty well for if you that was a good analysis. Ooh, sorry, I can't talk.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I,
Um,
I mean, they feel all sorts of different ways. Sometimes it feels like spider webs. Like I know, especially in abandoned buildings or like old places where there might be spiders, I always think there's a spider around me. But it's like an electrical spider web. It's very strange.
I get what you mean.
Yeah.
So I admitted on your page earlier that I was kind of snooping because I really didn't know a ton about you. I knew about you from like the things I've seen from your posts and stuff, but I snooped a little harder into it today.
I
So
haven't, I haven't been doing as much on there, so hopefully there was something interesting. I'm just kind of lately reels and I don't know. So
hey, everybody has a lull in investigating and stuff like that, especially when it's cold, like we were talking about a little bit ago. I don't want to go out when it's freezing.
no, 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 no. And it's funny, I can walk to some of those cemeteries around here, but yeah, it's cold and I don't want to be out there. So
Well, that's
gearing up for spring.
oh, I'm so excited for spring.
Yeah,
Can't wait.
absolutely.
So one of the things I was going to bring up is that you like to go to cemeteries and you seem to get a lot of feedback from that, from spirit and stuff, which is really interesting. What I guess provokes you to go to certain cemeteries, or do you just, is it within a certain distance and you're just like, let's see what happens, or?
I try to go to all of them. I mean, if I'm in the area and I have the time, I'll swing by even sometimes on the way home from work or whatever, like or taking a different route, I'll see a cemetery and be like, ooh, I'm gonna stop there. I always keep gear on me, like something, like even like a SB7, like something small. Um, Sometimes I can be there for 20, 30 minutes and I'm like, hey, you can tell there's just not much going on. Uh, and so it kind of turns into like a curiosity of who's there, you know, oh, this guy died in 1947. Sometimes I try to research the person online, see if I can find anything, especially when there's cemeteries that are connected with wars or specific events or places. There's a lot of different reasons, you know. But I like both the exploring of the cemeteries. I like the atmosphere. Feels very peaceful to me. I don't ever feel any negativity or like death, despair. Like I don't feel that. It just feels like a resting place, I guess. So
Okay, so I guess to kind of pivot on that, does the year of death kind of draw you to certain graves, or is it just like
yeah,
a year?
when I see the especially when you see graves from the 17 1800s, I mean, to make contact with someone who was maybe alive that long ago, 300, 200, 300 years, it's very cool to me. And it just would be, I guess, moving forward, talking about goals with the paranormal, it would be really interesting if we could communicate with these people or figure out how to controlled communicate with people or like reach people directly. I don't know. That's just a dream. I don't think we'll ever be there, but I do like the older ones and to hopefully they answer about how life was back then. I don't know if you saw, but the coolest one I got was in Galena, and it was a port town, and they mined lead and shipped it off into Iowa. But I was talking to it was the grave was Horatio, and I was like, "Is where did you die, or is this where you died?" I can't remember what I said, but he responded at the port, which is just wild to me because there's nothing about the port of Galena anywhere. There is a sign in the cemetery that describes the port and what they did, but I didn't find that out until a year later. I stumbled upon that sign and I went back and I found that evidence and I was like, get out. Like he told me he died at the port and there's a sign describing what they did at the port. And it closed in the 1800s. So long time ago.
Wow, that's really cool.
That was probably the coolest one I've ever had, I would say. Very simple, but it's just really neat that you have a correlation between where they probably worked, and the time they were alive. So
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that communication would be harder from those that were alive 200, 300 years ago? I mean, because obviously, like, verbiage is different now, technology is significantly different. Do you think that it makes a difference for them as communication wise?
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like a lot of the ones, I guess, that are from back in the day, the 1800s or 1900s, even early 1900s, they definitely seem to have a sense of humor. Some of them seem to be a little bit crabby. I'm sure, me, guy from this year, whatever, walking in and asking all these dumb questions. They're probably just, you get a lot of get out, go away. The funniest thing I had taken my daughter and we were talking, and there was a I would guess younger boy, maybe teenager, and it was just so funny. He was just against everything I said, and no, and very clear, sharp responses, like no doubting that he was responding to me. It's comical though. Like, what did I do? Just trying to see if you need anything, hang out and chat. But you get all kinds, and I think that's part of the enjoyment of investigating is you just never know who you're going to speak to or what they're going to tell you. It would be nice if they alluded to, like, where do we go when we die, or what do you see? Those are things I haven't had any success getting responses to, but
I have theories about that, and I wonder if it's like an unspoken rule that they're not allowed to tell us. And like all of this investigating and stuff is just going to lead us to nowhere and just go in circles.
right. Well, that opens up a whole can of worms because it's like, are they allowed to tell us? And if they're not, who's running the show? Like telling them that they're not allowed to. Is there going to ever be a rule breaker that does it anyway? And what would happen to them? Like it's very weird to think about stuff like that, and that's the kind of stuff that'll keep me awake at night. So
Maybe we should divert away from that then a little bit.
yeah, so it's interesting, hopefully one day. I keep doing it hoping for a little a different piece of the puzzle.
So do you think as time evolves that the technology is going to make it easier or harder to communicate? Because, I mean, if you go back to the olden times, the best way to do it is just sitting there using your senses. But now we have all of this technology and it's hit or miss even with technology. So how do you feel about that?
I don't know how I feel about that because I feel like with where we're at right now, I mean, things are pretty good. I mean, I'm still using technology that's, 7, 10 years old, and I think it's some of the best. I don't really do too much with the newer technology that's very abstract, I guess you would say. I have some of those devices like the XLS and things like that. Um, I don't have quite as good a luck with those, but I use a REM pod and a recorder and a spirit box and a camera, and those are the things that cover all my bases. I like the REM pod because it tells me if something is in the area, and then I can start speaking to them. Um, maybe like an EMF detector. I don't use those much anymore unless I'm walking around, but just those are the tools that help. And I think, you know, if there is something that comes out, it would have to be pretty significant, like something like I was talking about that you could control, communicate with someone. That would be something that would be on my radar, but will that make things? I don't know. Not sure.
Cool if you could see like their human form, like it detects like what they actually look like a camera that would pull them up. That'd be neat.
Yeah, like especially over, I don't know, the whole Connect technology with the stick figures. Like, when are we going to have something better than a stick figure? Um, yeah, I agree. That would be really cool. But then it's like, I guess when you think about that, will it take some of the I don't know, will it take some of the mystery out of it where it just kind of changes the dynamic of investigating? If someone can go out, like purchase something like that and just go do it, I guess it kind of takes the amazement maybe out of things. I guess it depends.
I could see that. I mean, it would take a lot of credibility away from psychics and mediums too. If I'm not sure how far you believe in all that stuff, but um, it would either help them or hinder them. You wouldn't have a need for them, I guess, anymore if you already know what everybody looks like.
Yeah, it would be something. I don't know if we'll ever get there, but yeah, like you said, it would change the dynamic a little bit. Um, I was just thinking when you said that, sorry, I was thinking we had a medium. I really didn't put any stock into mediums, and I guess I've kind of gone back and forth with this thought over the years, watching shows. Some people use mediums, some people are very against them. So, I as well kind of flip flop, like maybe, maybe not. But anyway, we saw a medium after my sister passed away. We were seeing a medium to try to get some more information from her. And we never had all that much from her. But while we were in this session, my daughter's mother's grandma came through, I guess, and she was saying things that were just wild, like things that no one would know. And the craziest thing she said, that meant nothing at the time. She was like, "You guys need to fix your roof, and you need to do it right now." Whatever. So after winter, we had a really brutal winter right after we saw that medium, and there was ice damming on my roof where the ice created like a crack, and water started leaking in when everything melted. And so I'm walking in the door one day, and I open the front door, and the ceiling just like collapses in front of me.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
the roof needed to be repaired. So that made
Oh
me
wow.
eager.
I I will say there's a lot of fakes out there. There's a lot of people that it's hard to know whether they're telling the truth or not, but there are some really legit people out there that do stuff like that, and you're like, oh, okay. But yeah, I can see that. The skepticism with mediums and things.
That was the only one I think I've ever seen that I it just blew me out of the water, and this was later on. I figured out, wow, she really was a really good psychic or medium or whatever you want to call them. But I've had other ones where it's a lot of leading questions, and they kind of pivot based on your responses. So like you said, there are some ones that are not quite as credible and are not quite as good. But then again, an experience like that, I do believe people have some abilities. So
Oh, yeah, that's cool. So I guess we'll kind of pivot back to the ghost hunting part of it again. What's your favorite place that you've investigated?
oh, Edinburgh Manor. I'm there every year. It's just the place is incredible, you know. And I guess I maybe I like it more because of the amount of audio you get there. It's just you could leave your box on all night and it'll be constant communication. They say your name, they say cuss words, like they're always talking. I would do I like to like play games with them and stuff, and I'll do the number game, like what comes after this, 1, 2, 3, and then you'll get all of these different voices, 5, 8, it's really wild, and I would like to think they enjoy it too. So
That's cool.
very special place. A lot of tragedy happened there, but I guess as a caveat, nobody seems really unhappy to be there. There is some negative stuff there, but nothing like really awful. Just negative energy from bad things that probably occurred there. But nothing like trying to harm you or,
Well, that's always a plus.
yeah.
Have
Yeah, I
you
think
ever,
they touch me, but I don't want to like be like pushed down the stairs or something crazy like that, even though I'm not sure of that kind of power. Never experienced it in the 20 some years, but have you ever had anything like that happen?
I was pushed in a wheelchair, but it wasn't like a super long distance, but it was enough to know that I moved. It was probably 5 or 6 inches that I moved across the floor. And
Oh,
everybody kind of looked at me and they looked at my feet. I'm short. So like my feet very rarely touch the ground. And in this wheelchair, my feet did not touch the ground. Even like they were dangling and everybody looked at me and they're like, "Did you do that?" And I'm like, "My toes can't even hit the ground." Like, "No, I didn't do that." So that was really cool that everybody witnessed that too that I was with.
oh my gosh, where was this at?
Rolling Hills Asylum. It's in East Bethany, New York.
Oh, very cool. You went to Rolling Hills. How was
Love
that?
it. I love it. Oh my gosh. It's such an amazing place. It really is.
That is a bucket list location for sure. And you're over, no, are you by what's the other one with an L? Letchworth? Yeah, Letchworth Village. Isn't that out by you?
Letchworth, yes. I go to Letchworth as often as I can.
Is it still like you can just walk in there?
Well, it's a state park, so you can go through like the entire thing, and they still have the old buildings up and stuff. And I believe they're open to the public still. It's been a while since I've gone through any of like the actual museums and stuff, but there
No.
used to be all sorts of stuff there.
My friend, he's not a paranormal guy, but he lives over there, and he just randomly was posting pictures of his urban exploration thing. I had never talked to him about spirits or anything, and I noticed one of the grave markers because it was like a cross, and I just remember it from Ghost Adventures a long time ago, and I was like, "That's Letchworth, isn't it?" And I was like, "No way!" And then I started asking him, did you feel um any ghosts there or anything like that? But it just randomly came up. This was like a year ago, and I wondered if that place was still around and not demolished.
Yeah, if we're thinking about the same place, and they still have a bunch of stuff that's up there. There was a lot of native activity there. I mean, obviously everywhere, but they still have like longhouses and stuff there,
Mm,
unless they've been taken down in the last few years. But um,
sure, it
it's
is
a
the
really
same
cool
place
place.
because I had heard they had a park there, so I think that's the same one.
Okay, yeah. Um, it's a beautiful place. The waterfalls there are amazing. It's just so serene and peaceful, and I just love it there. We used to travel through it every time we went on family vacations. We would always stop there before we went home. So,
Oh, nice. You've got a lot of stuff up there. So, are you like right by the waterfalls?
yep, they're
You
10 minutes away from my house.
get out. How cool. Have you seen any investigations around Niagara Falls? I think I was just watching one last year.
There's so many places around here that are like known to be haunted, but a lot of them don't allow investigations anymore, which really breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But like there's the Rapids Theater that's very well known as being haunted. There's the Shays Theater in Buffalo, Island Museum. Um, the Statler Building is out by me.
Hmm.
Those are all, well, aside from Iron Island, they don't really allow paranormal investigations anymore. So
Excuse me. Why do you think that people would not allow them? That's what I always wonder. I know some places say like they don't want it to scare off patrons or whatever, but I would think, I don't know, I guess it depends on what kind of crowd you're trying to draw to the place, but I would think you would get more foot traffic from that.
I agree, but I think that it's so like taboo still that I think that a lot of the businesses, like especially Shays, they're kind of like put off by the idea.
Uh,
Especially Rapids Theater too. They have like a bunch of like bands and things that come from all over the place. So I think maybe that's probably a big part of it is they don't want it to be known to be haunted, so they lose like their big headlining people that come through.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I think it's pretty popular around here. I mean, like everybody has a bucket list for Iron Island, it seems like. I mean, Hinsdale's getting really popular.
Mm.
I would think it'd be a little bit more accepted than it is now, especially. But it's like recently, within the last 10 years or so, they've stopped all paranormal stuff.
Yeah, a lot of places are doing that. Even a lot of the really famously haunted places like Eastern State Penitentiary stopped doing investigations. I live by a place called the Genesee Theater, and they used to do investigations there. They don't allow it anymore. My friend works security there. I've been trying to see if we could get in there for so long, and the owner's just not very accommodating. I don't think they'll ever allow it again, but yeah, and then I live 3 minutes away from a place called the Lehman Mansion, which is very haunted, very old historic mansion. But people get married there, so they don't want, you know, paranormal stuff at people's weddings, I guess. But yeah,
It's interesting. I mean, there's a place here, there's a mansion, but people get married there all the time too, and it's like a really hopping place, I guess, for, I mean, it's a beautiful building. Mansions are, when they're the old style, I love the stained glass and stuff within them.
yeah,
Those are probably my favorite places to investigate.
absolutely. Or like the churches with the stained glass. I haven't done a lot of those, but I love like just exploring and looking at the places. So I was hoping to get out, I don't know, expand my horizons this year, but I seem to always end up back at the same stomping grounds. And I like that, I guess personally, because it's nice to go to new places and experience new things. But at the same time, when I'm going back to places I've already been to, I can kind of piggyback off what I already know, or like take another shot at communicating with the same spirits or whatever you want to call them, entities. Um, yeah, I like to call out like, "Hey, we talked last year. Do you remember me?" and stuff like that. And it's kind of neat, and especially if the voice matches up, it kind of alludes to the fact that they're tied to the location, or they can come back and forth freely.
Absolutely. I, well, I'm kind of doing the opposite this year. I was staying around here, and this year I'm really getting myself out there. So
Yeah, where you
I
headed?
can all over the place.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I'll be going to Villisca, Cambry House. So mostly out your way, really.
really
Um, where else am I going? Oh my goodness, I'm going to the Asher Walton House,
heard of
the
it.
Rhodes Motel,
Oh, roads. Yeah, that'll be cool.
uh, Coalfield Manor in West Virginia,
Hmm.
and then the SK Mansion in Massachusetts. So I'm literally going like all over the
Wow.
place.
Are you gonna have time to stop and take a break? You're gonna be busy.
Yeah, I mean, this year I already went to Ohio. We went to Mortuary Manor. That was, and then I did one out by me that I'd never been to, which was the Palmyra Museum, literally back to back. That killed me.
I
But
bet it takes a lot out of you. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm in my 40s now, and just doing an overnight one night, it puts me down for a few days. I have to readjust to normal life and working and everything. I even had last year. I had a lot of. I was sick pretty bad last year, and I was still trying to go out and do my thing, and I was meeting with other teams. And there were nights where I had to leave 12, 1 o'clock. I was just too sick to continue. But
oh
you
wow.
doing better this year, so I'm hoping to get right back to it. And my one big place that we're trying to book is Ohio State Reformatory. I know you were talking about Ohio. That was the one we were trying to figure out. So yeah, that one's kind of up in the air. It's a little challenging to work with. Um, yeah, a little challenging to like figure out things, but we'll see. And then I'm going to Mexico for some dental work. So I'm going to be in Yuma, Arizona. There's a famous prison out there that we're going to go to. And there's a lot of haunted places in Arizona. So I'll probably try to hit a couple spots.
Well, that's awesome. That's really cool. So you get to kind of have the best of both worlds. You get to travel a little bit and explore some new places and
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been, I guess, the last couple of years, because I have my daughter and her mom, and usually if I'm going somewhere, outside of like 2, 3 hours away, they come with because they can be at the hotel and swim and do whatever. Because it would be super selfish of me if I just did all this on my own and like didn't have time to go on vacations with them or whatever. So, but that adds another layer of challenge to it because financially, you have to pay for two more people and a hotel room and this and that and whatever. But yeah, we always make it work. Last year we did quite a bit and it was fun. And my daughter's starting to get into it now too, like the outdoor stuff. She won't go in the house at this point, but she's very supportive. She's got my stickers on her stuff, and you know, I don't know if she'll end up, following in the path because she's still pretty spooked out about it, but we'll see.
My daughter's the same way, although she's caught me off guard the last couple weeks and she'll ask me about random stuff about like ghosts and paranormal stuff and I'm just like, where is this coming from? Like you've never had this much interest before. So it's neat.
Daughter,
What's that?
how old is your daughter? Sorry.
Oh, she's 8, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. 8 years old. So she is in third or fourth?
3rd right now.
Third, going into fourth. That's a good age. Yeah, mine's going into middle school this year.
Oh.
So
Oh,
time flies.
it does.
Yeah.
It's crazy how fast it goes. You say that when you get older, the time just keeps going faster and faster, and boy, is that true.
Yeah. After you hit 30, I don't know, for me, I hit 30 and it's just I look back and I'm like, wow, now I'm in my 40s. Like that's very, very weird. Never thought I would be this age. Like I'll skip that age, I'm just gonna be young for my whole life. But yeah, anyway, there should be some good stuff this year. And I got some new gear coming. Well, the first piece came, I'm waiting on the rest of the money to get some other stuff. But yeah, just trying to do as much as I can, at the same time buying a house and all these other things. So it's a lot, but I'll make it work.
Yeah, that's I think that's what it's all about is just doing what you can when you can. And it's not going well, hopefully it's not going anywhere. But um so I guess do you have like a rule against investigating your houses? Like have you ever investigated where you lived?
Oh yeah. I'm not allowed to anymore, but uh the one time I never really got any clear direct responses and like I don't do like video camera or anything like that. But I do have it on recording actually. I was doing a portal session just asking questions and someone answered what their name was. They said it was Mike, which I have a friend named Mike that passed away. And after he said that, he said my daughter's name, Colette. And I shut it off. I stopped. I'm like, no, can't do that here. I don't want anyone to bother her. But thinking about it later, like I said, I have a friend named Mike that passed away, and he helped throw my daughter's first birthday party. It didn't sound like him, but I don't know. I was kind of making that connection. I don't know. I guess I would hope because he was a really, really good guy. So, but I have. I'm just it's very frowned upon. If I do, it's usually kind of secretive. But and I make sure like to give all my verbal like don't bother anyone here, you're not allowed to stay here, things like that. Usually it'll just be like a Q&A and then end the session. Do you
Okay.
do that at your house or no?
I have. So I got a spirit box and I'm like, all right, I don't want to mess around with it. And I was sitting in my living room. I was home alone. My daughter wasn't home. And I'm like, is there anybody that wants to communicate here? And the first thing that it said was spirits. And I'm just like, okay, I'm done. That's it. We're done. I mean, I know my house is haunted, but
Right.
to hear like there's spirits here, I'm like, That was enough for me. That's okay. Like, I don't need to know who you are. I just know that you're here. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
I've lived here for 5 years. They don't cause me any harm.
Are you in a house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Old house?
It was not really, actually. It was only built in like 1964, so it's not super old.
So
But
probably like the land there though. I mean, I know New York and Niagara area, that would be like a lot of native land, right?
oh, there's tons. There's a ton of native land, and there was a bunch of mob activity here, like through the years. Like,
Like famous that happened.
I'm not sure about the famous portions of it, but there's definitely, I can't remember who owned like most of the city at one point, but he was definitely very well known here. But he owned like the Niagara Hotel that's now Spot Coffee.
Hmm.
And I want to get in there so bad. I think I'm gonna reach out to the owner because they just opened it and remodeled it for to be open for the public. So all of the activity would probably be stirred up because only a couple years ago is when it finally stopped being renovated. But
Those are the
he was,
best places. Yeah.
yeah, he was on, oh crap, one of the Ghost Adventures or Ghost something show, and he let them in. So I'm wondering if he'll let me. I mean, I'm obviously not famous, but
Yeah.
if he'll let me
I say that
investigate.
all the time. Like, I'm no one, they probably won't let me in here. But those are the best places because nobody really knows that they're haunted, so they probably don't have a lot of people asking things like that. So, it doesn't hurt to ask, and a lot of times they might just be like, "Yeah, sure." Other times they'll be like, "Absolutely not." I've had that happen a few times, but it's cool because if they do say yes, it's you're not paying a bunch of money to go somewhere. Usually you're just either doing it to share evidence with them, or they're allowing you to do it on your own behalf. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the worst they can say is no, like you said, and I've gotten told no a few times, but more
yeah,
than I've been told yes, I'll say that.
some people are vehemently against it, and I get that. But yeah, you were saying there's a lot of mob activity. We have a lot of that in Chicago. Um,
Oh,
there's a guy on Facebook, AJ True Crime. I don't know if you follow him at all, but he goes to a lot of these mobster places in the city and in Cicero. It's very interesting, and he also does paranormal stuff. He has a haunted doll collection. Great follow if you get a chance to look him up. But yeah, Chicago it was just the hub of mob activity. So I've never gotten to investigate anything like that, but I would like to. There's so much.
oh yeah. I mean, I feel like all the mobsters hit the major cities, especially the older ones.
Yeah, have you heard of the St. Valentine's Massacre, right? With Al Capone.
Yep.
Yeah, we have that, and they still have the bullet holes, in the wall. So pretty cool. I mean, not, I guess, but cool to me, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, I think it's neat. It's just like the Sally Wade house still has the bullet holes and where you can stick your finger in where she got shot from, and
Oh,
apparently it's supposed to bring you like your soulmate or something.
get out. Yeah,
Yeah, that was
you were going to Velisca. They have the from the axe hitting the ceiling. I guess the
Mhm.
marks are still there. Bananas.
That's gonna be the darkest house I think I've ever gone to, or location in general. I mean, Hinsdale had a lot of like murder and stuff there, or so they say on the land. But this is gonna be the first like super, super dark history place I go to. So
I
I'm
hear
excited, but I'm also nervous.
I hear it's good. I know they had new ownership. Uh Yeah, it was my friend Mike and my friend Jack were there last year. They had a good time. I was looking up, what you would need to do to investigate there, and I heard they break it down into smaller like rooms or something when you stay there. I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, but talk about a cool location, and for it to be something unsolved all these years. Um, I don't think that kind of energy will ever leave that place. So.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
When you investigate places, because I have my preferences, of course, but do you like to go into places cold and see like if they have intelligent responses to you, or do you like to do your research beforehand if you can?
Kind of half and half. I'll go in there. I like to go in there knowing names, things like that. And then try to reach out to the people and then see later if there's correlation with what the people say and maybe what their documented history is. I think that's a pretty good way to do things. Um, at the same time, I like the cold ones too. I guess it just depends. I like doing it both ways. When you go in the cemetery, you don't really know anything. 'Cause like I said, I do a lot of cemeteries. So you go in there, you know nothing, and to get something that matches with documented history is pretty incredible. And at the same time, to go in with someone's name and to find out later that something they said was true, that's also pretty cool. So
Right. Yeah, I prefer to go in cold for most things, but
yeah.
yeah, I usually bring somebody that's done the research so they can kind of confirm for me, I guess, if I get something. But yeah, I think it's fun to kind of do it cold. I mean, I had to do a little bit of research for Mortuary Manor just because I had never even heard of the place before. So I had, like you said, I'd gotten some names and things, so that was pretty neat. Unfortunately, we didn't get much there though. Um,
I have something to, well, sorry, did I interrupt you?
no, 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 you're good.
I was gonna say, along the lines of what you're saying, do you think if you know things ahead of time that can influence the paranormal activity that happens? Because I talk about this with a lot of people, and I'll just give you an example like poltergeist. They say some people that are having things happen in their lives or whatever can emit energy that can create things that move, knocks, things like that. Do you think maybe knowing something like that in a place that is paranormal, like documented paranormal, people know, everybody knows, do you think that could affect the outcome of your investigation or the activity that you come across?
I was almost going to pose a question that's similar to this earlier. Like, does your energy
Yeah.
affect how an investigation like goes? Um, because there's been certain people that I've investigated with and nothing happens. And then there's people that I investigate with and like everything is off the wall. So I'm not really sure. I feel like you can definitely, how do I put this? Your perception is your reality. So if you're going to always be positive, then you're going to see the more positive things that happen. If you're always negative, you're only going to see the negative things that happen.
Right.
Does that emulate through to paranormal investigating? I'm really not sure because there's certain things like I'm not sure if my energy could force a knock. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if it could be outwardly projected off of me. So I'm not really sure. I could be wrong. Maybe it can happen, but I don't think that if I knew ahead of time that it's going to like cause certain reactions.
Hmm.
But I do think that there's certain things that like if I knew like there's always a knock at 2:35 a.m. or whatever and like something happens, like my brain's instantly going to go to, oh, that must be what they were talking about. So like stuff like that, maybe yes,
Mm.
but like the other stuff that you can't really predict or don't really know or that's just so random. I don't think that my thought processes will do anything for that.
Yeah, the reason I ask, I had what I used to call an attachment for a few years. After I had been investigating, this was during a time where I was on hiatus. I wasn't doing anything at all. And I had this attachment and just I had the strangest activity occur. And it wasn't like small things, it was really big things. Like I heard a knock at the door one night. Um, after I got out of the military, I think I was 22 or 23, and I was staying with my parents for a few weeks, and there was a knock on the door. It was like midnight. I was in the bedroom listening to music, and I got up. No, actually, I was sitting there, and I was like, "Come in," and nobody came in. And I thought it was my music too loud, and I'm like, "Oh, my dad's here," whatever. But nobody came in, so I go to the door and I open the door, and there's an orb orb. I hate saying that, but it was an orb. There was an orb like 4 feet off the ground, and I my breath left my body. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't move. Obviously I had investigated before, but you don't when it's a time where you're not expecting anything and nothing really crazy has really happened to you or you haven't seen anything. It shocked me and I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. I don't think it was paralyzing me. I think I was just paralyzed. But I stood there staring at it. It wasn't something out of the corner of my eye. I looked right at it. And after like 2 or 3 seconds, it just shot down the hallway. No sound, no nothing. And thinking back about it, it wasn't very bright like you would think like an orb from a TV show or something. It wasn't a bright light, but you could see the light. It did have its own light, but it wasn't shining or reflecting on the wall, like you would think something would if it were a ball of light. And I've kind of stopped talking about this as documented paranormal activity. Well, I guess it is paranormal, but I'm not saying it's a spirit or whatever because I don't know like what that would be or why it would be or what. It wasn't in an old haunted house. This was in my parents' house. But then like I was saying, I started with an attachment and it stuck around for a couple years. And some of the activity was really wild. Lots of it seemed like it was attracted to metal, so pop cans. I would hear it would sound like a fingernail tapping a pop can. And I would actually see the pop can like moving just ever so slightly. Uh, I think I smoked cigarettes at the time, so I was in the garage smoking or whatever, and there was a pop can there, and it happened, and I just remember watching it move, and I threw it down and just ran in the house. I'm like, what was that? But that was only the beginning. There was just so much that happened for a while. And I still try to figure out that's kind of the reason why I got back into this is because I'm like, maybe one day I'll have more answers about what happened. Was it poltergeist activity where it was coming from my energy? Was it a spirit? Was it maybe that energy I was giving off attracting something? I don't know. But it happened. It definitely happened. And I had other people witness it too.
Where do you think it came from? Like your attachment, or do you have not a clue at all?
I don't know. This is something I think about a lot. I mean, it's been, God, almost 20 years now since that happened. And I still go down these rabbit holes. I still am on Google sometime looking stuff up, talk to Chat GPT, all stupid battery, all these different things. But I don't know. I don't know what that would be. I really don't. I guess I try not to think about what it would be too much because I'll never have the answer. It's one of those unanswerable questions.
Okay, now you got my mind reeling in a million different directions because I mean, you said you had military service in there. You
Yeah,
have, just there's so much that it could. I mean, when I hear knocks, usually somebody passes away. That's
yeah.
my cue.
It. I don't know, and like you could tell by like talking to me, like it really when I talk about it, I go back to that time when it happened, and I remember the feeling. And I remember not being able to talk to anyone about it, for fear. I gotta plug this computer in. I don't know why. Can you bear with me 1 second?
Yeah,
I
you're
am
good.
so sorry. And I'm back. Sorry. All right. So what were you saying?
Oh, just the so many factors that you've had through the years of what it could be, and that some every time like I hear a knock, somebody ends up passing away or something just completely flips my world upside down.
Yeah, it actually got me. I wasn't doing much paranormal at the time, but it really turned me off to the whole field altogether because it was so surreal. And you have things happen at haunted locations and different things, but nothing is ever that up close and personal, like in your space, in your living quarters. Something you can't explain. I remember when I started seeing these little lights out of the corner of my eye at that house, and I actually ended up putting blankets over the window. I'm like, someone shining a light in my window. It was just so strange. And then I remember inviting my sister, like, hey, like, come hang out for the night. I'm like, I want to see, and there was a couple of nights where just nothing happened. It wasn't an every night thing, but um the one time where it happened and it was so clear that we had saw like a light anomaly, um, I turned to her and I'm like, okay, did you see that? And she's like, I did. And I'm like, I leave the room and I write something down, I'm like, what did you see? And she tells me, the flight path. She saw the little ball and she knew where it went. She's like, it came over here, it dipped down, and it went right. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not crazy. That did happen. These things are happening. So, um, yeah, it's just something I always wonder. Like, am I ever going to know what that was or who it was, or is it not going to be something I know until, the big sleep or whatever? Like I don't know. But there was a couple years. Oh, and I had a black dog. I grew up with the black dog, a little miniature schnauzer, and I had actually moved to Texas for a while with the girl that I had met, and that attachment I had from Illinois followed me to Texas, and it changed. It was different. But we got this black dog that we would see. She noticed it before I did. Um, and then we would feel on the bed, we would feel a dog jumping up on the bed. Do you have dogs?
Not anymore, but I have.
So like when a dog jumps up, you can feel the way a dog is. Like they're kind of wiggly, jump up if they're happy, they're wagging their tail. That's what we would feel on the bed. We would feel a dog jumping up and something happy, and we would both feel it. And it was another thing where you're so happy someone else felt it or witnessed it because you're not alone in this craziness that had been happening. So yeah.
That's cool. So have you ever seen like full apparitions then? Like, I mean, if you saw that bull, no.
I've never seen a full bodied apparition. Like I've seen that dog. I did see a dog, but I've never seen a full human apparition. I've seen shadow figures. Um, but unless I'm catching it like on film, it's something that I don't know. Like I can't say for sure. Besides the things I was speaking about, like if I'm at a haunted house in the dark and I see a shadow figure, I'm not going to necessarily take that as word unless it's something I can document. Um, for me personally, I'll have personal experiences, but you never know. Maybe it was a light trick or something. Your eyes played tricks on you, but the camera doesn't lie. So,
Right.
have you?
Okay. Oh yeah. More times than I can count. Ever since I was a kid. I
Really?
mean, oh yeah. I
All
see
right.
them
Tell
all.
me a story about the coolest one or the most profound.
The craziest one that I think that really sticks with me now is my siblings are 10 years plus younger than me. So like when I was a teenager, they were still quite little.
Mhm.
I think I was 15 or 16, and obviously I was living at home. And so the way that the house was, like we had a super long living room that was kind of split up into a dining room. Then there was
Mhm.
the kitchen, and then there was the Florida room, just for visual purposes. So I was standing in the kitchen. We had like an island where the sink was, and I was putting something away or doing the dishes, something. And I see my little sister's head go across the counter. And I'm like, where are you going? And she answers me from literally, like they were going towards the floor room. She answers me from the living room. She's like, I'm sitting right here. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, what? I was like,
So
no,
it
you
was
just
her,
ran
like you saw her, like it looked like your sister.
almost to the T. My sister had really, really tight ringlets when she was little,
Uh,
and she had dark brown hair. Kind of, I mean, my hair's kind of dark now, but like
yeah.
it looked same height, same everything. And I swear on everything, it was her. And she, like I said, she answered me from the other room, and I just kind of like stood there for a second, and I kind of looked over. I walked in the living room, and I was like, okay, you're here. So I walked back, and I was like, and there's nobody here. So I definitely, that was probably the most like defined apparition I've ever seen, especially with how close to her it looked like.
That's
So
like different territory, even like doppelgangers or whatever, or I don't know, like spirits that try to mimic another person in the house. Pretty interesting.
yes, I've always gotten an eerie feeling every time it's no longer owned by my family. My family sold it, but every time I drive by the house now, I still get that eerie feeling of just weirdness. I mean, there was so many things that happened at that house. Like I saw a little boy standing outside my window and I was on the second floor. Like it was just
Oh, so do you think it was negative? Do you think it was positive? Like, what do you think it could have been?
I'm still not sure. I mean, knowing what I know now is doing this like as an actual hobby and not just like seeing random things. I thought people could see apparitions like I could, like for years. So when I finally started doing this and people were like, "No, I can't see them." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So now what I know, I think that there was probably mimics there and most definitely something probably negative. I wouldn't go as far as saying it was evil or malevolent or anything like that, but it was definitely negative and not very happy to be where it was. But there was a lot that happened, so much that happened in that house.
Okay, so do you think so it wasn't like you don't think it was like demonic or anything? And do you believe in demonic occurrences?
No, I don't know. I've never had anything to definitively tell me that it exists. So
Sure.
I can't really say that I believe that it exists, but I'm not also saying that it doesn't either.
That's kind of how I am with everything. I take that agnostic style point of view where, I believe that there could be something, um, but I don't know. And I think that's a good, healthy way to look at things. Anything in an extreme, like 100% believer or 100% denier, nothing is ever 100%. Science, you can't be 100% of anything.
Mhm.
So I think that's a good outlook on the whole thing. I'm kind of the same.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's always going to be something. I mean, everybody has this, uses the same definition, but has a different meaning. At least that's what I've kind of begun to realize doing this. Demons, for example, anything that's evil is demonic for some
Right.
people. Um, I don't think that way. I think that the demons are inside of us, I guess, in a certain way. I mean,
I
you
think
have
we're
a lot of.
yeah. Like humans are probably if anything is demonic, I would say humans like some humans do the worst things,
Oh, yes.
but yeah, I don't know. I've never experienced anything like the worst thing. I won't even get into that, but yeah, I've never experienced anything where I would say like, oh, it was like a hell spawn, a demon or something like that, unlike some of the shows where everything is demonic and all this evil activity. I don't know. I think there might be entities that are not so friendly. Some of them might even be just like a bad human would be like let's say for instance a serial killer. You might have entities that are very similar. If they were evil when they were alive, they might be evil when they're dead. Um, I don't know.
That's kind of how I go with it. I mean, if we're hunting spirits, they were first people, and you have all kinds of people, you're going to have all kinds of spirits. So
Right.
that's kind of how I run with it, with that idea.
I kind of like to think along the lines of the like the dimensional theory, like different dimensions, and maybe there are different entities in these different dimensions. So if I were to speak on demonic things, like do I think it's a demon from hell? I don't think so, but I think there is a possibility that other dimensions could hold things that are not so nice, where they might be a demon per se or whatever. I do believe there's many dimensions and different parallels and time goes different ways. I get really into that stuff, but do I know it for a fact? Not really. So,
Yeah, I don't think any of us do at this point. I mean, like we say all the time, there's no what's the word? Expert, sorry, I got a notification. It distracted me completely.
yeah, that's why I'm like just looking down at my phone. I'm like, yeah, I probably should turn that off.
Oh my goodness. There's no experts in this field, and I kind of like that because there's really nobody that can tell you that you're wrong. I mean, it's all kind of just how it makes you feel and your own opinions of it. So it's interesting, but it also seems to cause a lot of chaos in this field.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot of chaos in the paranormal community. Um, Everybody has different agendas, and there's a lot of different personalities. Some good, some bad, some just strange. But that's another thing that kind of attracted me to it. There's never a dull moment, even though like sometimes the things we do in person can be kind of dull. Like we might not experience things being around people that are believers or are involved is always a good time, very abstract personalities and different people that I just seem to vibe with. So that's another thing that attracted me back into it was just the people. Um, being a solo person and not connected to a team, it's nice because I can just connect with other teams or people and get to meet different people with different points of view and discuss the things like we're talking about, like the unanswered questions, the unknown, um, which is something you could talk about forever. There's just so many different tangents and variables. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I like the deep-seated conversations that make my brain work, and the mundane everyday what's your favorite color kind of starts to drive me nuts. Like it
Yeah,
just
seriously, I'm in sales, so like I
oh,
talk to people for a living. So, but the stuff I talk about at work is so boring and not and I'm focused on while I'm talking to them, I'm trying to think about what I'm going to do next and but just like slowing down and talking to people about things you're interested in, it's so much better. It's so much more enjoyable. But yeah, it makes my brain work in a different way, where I'm not focused on making money or closing a deal or not losing my job. It's just something I relax and dream or envision things. I don't know. I like it.
yeah, it's good for the soul.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention is I guess, not premonitions, but I guess I would call myself like an intuitive, or some people say empath. I can feel energies like when I go someplace, like I can feel and I think everybody has a little bit of this, but for me it's so intense sometimes that I get it in my stomach. I feel like it feels like butterflies almost. If I'm not supposed to be somewhere, I'll even say it out loud sometime when I'm not I shouldn't be here right now. I feel those things or I can look at someone um and sense their energy in person. Like I can tell if someone's unhappy. I can tell, if it's someone I want to continue talking to again. I seem to have that unique ability, which has been a blessing and a curse, I guess. So, but that's another thing we were talking about, just being worn out from investigating. After an investigation, I just feel like I'm gonna faint. It's just so much energy. Sometimes my stomach will lock up, the muscles clench, because I feel it a lot in my stomach. And they'll clench and I'll be like laid out for like 3 days. So
Oh wow.
So another thing I've always wondered, like, what is that? Is that some kind of ability, or is it just something where
Mhm.
my body is adapted to what I do and is better able to read things as kind of like not literally, but a survival mechanism, like something you do and have built. I don't know.
I say that a lot, that everybody has intuition. It's just learning to recognize the signs and actually listen to it.
Mm,
So I feel like you're definitely a little bit above just a regular intuition or intuitive person. So yeah, I would say that you're an empath. I mean, feeling energy shifts, I've met people that feel absolutely nothing, whether that's just because they don't listen to their cues of their own body or they just really don't feel anything. I'm not sure, but that's
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how I would feel if I didn't feel things. I don't know how that if that would make sense in my brain, I guess. But saying it out loud
Right.
kind of sounded dumb. But
No, 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 no. You're right though. Like it's something I use in everyday life and the paranormal world. They say like gut instinct or whatever. Like I use that for everything. Someplace I shouldn't be, I listen to my gut. I've grown used to, outcomes that could happen if I don't listen to my gut or my intuition. And I think that is a big bonus, in the field as an investigator. You can feel those things and you might use it like more to like, oh, there could be something around. I should start trying to gather evidence here. I'll use it in that way. But yeah, and then other people will be around me like, I don't feel anything. Like, what are you talking about? Eh, I don't know.
it's interesting, especially when you're in those situations where you're with somebody and you're like, no, like, "Oh, okay." I mean, I work in security. I don't know. I work in a casino, so like
Oh,
I
cool.
literally, yeah, it's different. I literally like I can tell how a day is going to go and who when I'm walking up to a situation like how it's going to go. They're either going to be really open and okay or it's going to go down south real quick. And like you, I kind of use it in my everyday life too. So it definitely helps in certain situations for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great life skill to have, whether it's something, you just build over time or whether it is something intuition related. I don't know, or maybe your body just reacts um to energy like signals, it reacts in a different way. Um, but it's there, and it seems to affect me a lot uh, in a not great way, but at the same time, it does help with investigating or whatever. But yeah, if I walk into a room and without any facial expressions or anything, if two people are fighting and I walk in, I can almost feel it like a vibration. Like it makes me tense, it makes me anxious, and I kind of like feed off that. But that's kind of what I've learned some people would call like an empath or a, someone that has heavy intuition. I don't know.
Yes. Empath would be the word that I would use to describe that. Because I
Yeah.
feel like, I mean, intuition is definitely part of that, but I feel like if you can feel like specific um, energies or emotions, that's more of an empathic ability than just intuition. That's how I differentiate it, anyways.
Right. I think you're totally right. Um, yeah, and it's what the worst is like the feelings of sadness or the feelings of anger. Those are the stuff I don't want to feel. Where I
Mhm.
wish I didn't have that, but unfortunately, that's just the way it goes, I guess. So
True. I mean, there is ways to control it, but that takes a skill set that I have not mastered yet. So I couldn't even help you if I wanted to.
well, that's
I
kind
do
of
role
why
play.
yeah, that was kind of why I brought it up because you were talking. What did you say earlier? Um, I just drew a blank. Yeah, I brought it up just because oh yeah, I have this condition. It's kind of neurological related. Um but basically your brain is flipped on like a light switch. So all my pain signals, like a paper cut will feel like getting stabbed to me. Um and part of the therapy is like acknowledging it and like doing different things to acknowledge it and convincing yourself like that, that wasn't that bad, like that didn't hurt that bad. But it applies to a lot of things, like anxiety or like even like being overwhelmed or different things. It's all like this neurological thing. I can't remember what they called it, but it has a few different names. But yeah, that's kind of why I'm applying that. And I wonder if it's from like paranormal or just being around a lot of high emotion people or environments. I don't know. It sucks, but right now it sucks. It's not comfortable, but yeah, I'm trying to learn like what you were saying, how to control it and how to make it better, but not doing great at it. So we'll see.
It's tough, but I wish you luck with it, truly, because I mean, if you can figure out how to manage it, I'm sure it'll be a lot easier on you in multiple ways.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. That was kind of like this all started when I got sick last year, and they say your brain like you kind of like however you are whatever you're feeding it. Like if you start saying I feel so awful, I'm sick, I have this, I have that. I guess it was part of like your brain like clicking on and saying like it's on the defense is how it was explained to me. So I don't know why I brought this up, but you had mentioned like controlling it. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. But
I mean,
and
I oops, go ahead.
no, no,
I shut it off for years. I don't know how. I couldn't tell you how. But then when I finally started to like relax again and life kind of started to settle down, like it just came full speed ahead and it's just been a lot very quickly. And I don't know if that was just my defense mechanism and just life just saying, nope, you had enough for a while, let's just shut it down. But if I can figure out how to do it the on command, that would be fantastic.
yeah, I know the person I'm talking to say it's a process, it's a whole thing, and they don't really know why, what's happening to me happens. They don't know the source or why. They have an idea, but that's the worst, because you don't have the source, you don't know what is happening really. But I guess that's why I brought it up is because I tie that into like the empath thing and feeling energies and different things, which I feel a lot of at haunted locations and different places I go. So
That's interesting that you brought it up. And I'm going to actually have to do a little bit of research for myself now on things because now my brain is firing in different cylinders and trying to figure things out. But
I'm like I talk to Chat GPT about it a lot, because I wouldn't normally just converse about this like to someone, on a different level than someone like in the paranormal community. But Chat GPT being very logical and this and that, it is I had to put it in a compartment because then Chat GPT, everything I say, it starts going back to this condition, like, hey, like take a look at this, like do this. And I'm like, no, I'm not talking about that. It's so funny. But yeah, it's basically convincing your brain that that doesn't hurt bad. Like, no, this is okay. No, this is fine. This is it's there and it's okay to feel this way, but no, it's not really a thing. So it's strange.
just wonder if that's part of like,
Uh,
yeah, now my brain is just going a million miles a minute. I mean, because like when you were growing up, I mean, I'm a little younger, I'm in my 30s, but
uh,
always heard, you're only using 10% of your brain. Like, I really truly wonder how accurate that really is. And if, like, the people that have, I call them abilities, are you actually using more of their brain or like different parts of the brain that aren't normally used? I don't know. There's the Gateway Project that I did an episode on a little while ago about how they were looking into all that stuff.
really? Oh, that's cool. I gotta watch that one. I love that topic and the was it the star something? I don't know, but I love going down that rabbit hole and trying to imagine what they were trying to accomplish and everything. Or there's a lot of conspiracy theories and different views on that. It's kind of cool to research.
Oh yeah, I mean, deep dove into it. So a girl that I was actually friends with, gosh, in elementary school, we kind of fell off obviously after high school, but she's like, "Hey, do you remember going to this room and where we did all this stuff?" And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, and I was like, "You know what? I do remember that." And it was this, what you're saying, the Stargaze project or something that was off of the Gateway project for kids. It
Hmm.
was the I don't remember what the heck they called them, but either way, she's like, it was the gifted program. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't think that existed. So, of course, I went down the rabbit hole of everything. And on TikTok, you can find a million different like conspiracy theories and
Yeah.
topics about it. And a lot of kids, like in the 90s or, 2000s, remembered going through these like different tests and stuff. And she, for some reason, remembered it. And I was like, no, there's no way. And then the more I started to remember things, I remember one time we went into this like closet thing where there was a bunch of boxes and they made us take like tests. And it was just the most random thing ever. But how, I mean, that could have just been a random Tuesday and they just needed to put some of us somewhere to do like a hearing test. Who knows? I don't know. I don't remember that in much detail, but it was interesting to kind of hear other people's experiences and digging into the Gateway Project about how psychics and all that were have come about. And basically, the government says that they exist. So,
Yeah, there's a good book. Uh, what- it's by Lynn someone. It's on remote viewing. They talk about it a little bit in that book. But I was gonna say what I like you were talking about TikToks or whatever. I'll watch the video, but then if you go like on Facebook, if there's a video about it, if you go in the comments, you'll find people that were part of the program, and that's where you see some really cool comments on what they were doing. And especially when people reply to them because you have all these people and they're like, wow, I had that same experience. And it's kind of like little pieces of the puzzle all coming together. Very interesting. But people were talking about like they used to get this pink or purple drink. Um, and all these people were talking about it. I'm like, get out. And then sounds, different sounds. They would all remember these sounds from the project or whatever. Just wild, like what were they doing?
there's a part of me that just wonders if they were lighting up different parts of the brain or if they were lighting them up at the same time rather than triggering one at a time, or I don't know, something like that. There's so many different variables, I'm sure, that could go into that stuff. And sound frequency is definitely something that can trigger different parts of the brain. So it's interesting.
100%. And yeah, that, I mean, I guess I would consider all this like part of the paranormal, and that's kind of why I brought up certain things. It's all kind of in the same category for me, things that are unknown, things that are, impossible, things that we could do with our brain, and adding on obviously focused on spirits, but just different aspects like that are energy related or related to whatever. I don't know. I look up that stuff a lot. Remote viewing, um, telekinesis. They say there's more proof that remote viewing is real than aspirin works for headaches. It's stuff that most people would write off. But I think there's a lot of truth to stuff like that. And along the lines of what you're saying, yeah, your brain can probably do some insane things, if we could unlock those abilities. It would be like a supercomputer.
It would definitely be interesting. I mean, with all of this research and stuff from how different neurons trigger and the stem cells that are restructuring your brain and all of the things that they've come up with just in the last 20 years, we'll say, is just incredible. So there's got to be something more that we don't know that they definitely know.
Yeah, it would be amazing just to know a little more. I don't have to know everything, but I would like to know a little bit of the why on certain things, like especially with energy. Spirits would be really cool too, but all these other things, things we experience in life, the brain and energy and why things happen in certain ways, that's the stuff that would be really beneficial to know. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just, I guess some answers to the whys would be cool, like you said. Not all of them.
yeah, I mean, not even that I would do anything with the information. It would just be like, oh. Okay. Like, oh, great. But, I mean, I guess that would help you with different things. If you feel a certain way or you do something, it would kind of help put together, a little bit of an explanation or why things happen certain ways. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I'm zonked. I'm starting to run out of stuff.
this has been awesome. You've been a blast to talk to.
You as well. Thanks for having me on here. It was nice to finally meet you and get on a show. This was a good one, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a lot of fun. We touched on a very wide variety of topics, which is fantastic. I love that. I hate just sticking to one thing sometimes, but yeah, no, you were awesome to talk to. Thank you for taking the time and being on here with me. And I mean, if you ever want to talk about the Gateway Project or anything else again,
I'm
let me
thinking of things
know.
I'm going to send you after this now to like go down your own rabbit hole. Like,
Absolutely. I'm all for it.
yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah. Well, thank you again. I'm going to go get some food and I will talk to you soon.
Alrighty, sounds good. Thank you again.
All right. Bye, Tiffany. Have a good night.
Bye, you too.
Bye.
As I wrap up my time with you today, I hope the ideas I've shared here on Beyond Logic with Tiffany have provided a fresh perspective, challenging you to think a little differently about the world. Before you go, I have a request. I'd love for you to share this episode with one friend, colleague, or family member who you think needs to hear this specific conversation. Spreading the word is the best way to help the Beyond Logic community grow. To stay connected with everything I do and get continuous content throughout the week, make sure you follow me on all my platforms. Facebook is where my community gathers. Join the conversation, share your thoughts on the episode, and get exclusive behind-the-scenes content and Q&As. If you're on YouTube, head over to my channel to watch the full video version of this podcast and check out extended interviews and deep dives. For short, impactful, and shareable clips, follow me on TikTok. You can find all 3 platforms easily by searching for Beyond Logic with Tiffany. Until next time, keep questioning the narrative, keep exploring the possibilities, and stay beyond logic.